$15,200. That's what it cost to buy every wall and every roof panel for this house. A 3-bedroom home with 14-foot ceilings, a wall of windows pulling daylight across the entire main room, and walls that are cool to the touch on a 100-degree afternoon with the air conditioner barely running. We're going to walk through every room of it in a few minutes, but that number isn't the whole story, and I'm not going to hide a single dollar of the real total from you. Just the panels. Welcome to Barndominium Institute. If you've ever quietly run the math on what a 30-year mortgage actually costs in interest, hit subscribe now. This channel breaks down real alternative builds every week. The numbers, the mistakes, the permitting fights, all of it. And in about 5 minutes, we're walking through every room of this one. Renee and Dale Castillo bought 8 acres of scrubland in the Texas Hill Country in 2020 for $38,000, most of it owner-financed. Dale installed HVAC systems for a living. Renee taught 3rd grade. Together, they made about $71,000 a year, and every house they could actually qualify for in their county started around $280,000. They ran the interest math the way most people never bothered to do and decided they'd rather own dirt outright than owe a bank for 3 decades. Land was the easy part. Every general contractor they called quoted a stick-built home between $260,000 and $320,000, and the fastest one couldn't start for 10 months. Dale found structural insulated panels the way most people do by accident, watching a video about a pole barn in Montana and pausing it to Google a term he'd never heard before.
Here's what a SIP actually is, because the name makes it sound more complicated than it is. Take a core of rigid foam insulation, glue a sheet of structural wood panel to the front, glue another to the back, and press the whole thing under enormous pressure until it cures into one solid piece. That's the entire product. There's no stud, no empty cavity, no fiberglass bat hoping to slow down heat. The insulation is the structure, and it shows up on your property already engineered, with window openings pre-cut and wiring channels routed through the foam. For the Castillo's home, 1,650 square feet, 3 bedrooms, that kit came to $15,200 for every wall and roof panel, freight included from a manufacturer in Arkansas. No slab, no steel frame, no windows or wiring or drywall. What that money actually bought was framing, the most labor-intensive, highest-skill part of any house, delivered as a problem someone else had already solved. Now, let's go inside, and then I'll tell you the part that almost stopped this whole project before it started.
The house sits low and long against the tree line, and the first thing you notice from the outside is the roof line. A single slope, rising from 8 feet on the south wall to just over 14 feet at the north wall, instead of a traditional peaked roof. No hips, no valleys, nothing for water or debris to catch on the way down. Walk through the steel door on the south face, and you're standing in one open room that runs the full 30-foot width of the house, with no interior columns anywhere, because the steel frame carries the entire load out at the perimeter. That rising ceiling is the whole trick of the place. As you move from the front door toward the back wall, the room opens up above you, and a row of clerestory windows set high on the tall north wall floods the space with daylight without a single skylight to seal or eventually leak. Kitchen runs along the back wall, unfinished cabinet boxes the Castillos finished themselves over 2 weekends for $4,600 total. Behind it, a mechanical closet about the size of a coat closet holds the entire heating and cooling system, an 18,000 BTU heat pump, a tenth the physical footprint of a conventional furnace, sitting next to an energy recovery ventilator about the size of a mini fridge. Hang on to that, it matters in a minute. Down the hall, 3 bedrooms sit under that same sloped ceiling. The 2 north-facing rooms get the full 14 feet of height, while the primary bedroom on the south side loses some headroom along the low wall, a real trade-off the Castillos accepted because a flat, uniform roofline would have meant taller steel and roughly $14,000 they didn't have. That's the whole house. Here's the part that almost ended it before the slab was ever poured. A bank will not finance a house that doesn't exist yet unless a licensed general contractor signs off on the build, and none of the 9 contractors Dale called had ever set a SIP panel in their life. 2 hung up as soon as he said the word foam. No contractor sign-off meant no construction loan, which meant no traditional path to building this house at all. So how did they actually pull it off with no bank behind them? Stick around, because the answer changes everything about how this build had to be sequenced, starting with the one part you could never afford to get wrong. The slab came first, and it's the one part of this build you should never shortcut. With no loan, the Castillos paid for every stage in cash, in the order the money came in, starting with a concrete crew who poured a monolithic slab with anchor bolts set to the exact layout the panel manufacturer specified, for $12,600. The foreman checked the diagonals twice and told Dale his tolerance was a 1/4 inch across the whole footprint. Dale didn't understand why until the panels went up 5 weeks later in under 3 days, dropping into place without a single adjustment. The precision already happened at a factory on a CNC table. Your only job on site is giving that precision something flat and square to land on. Then came a 14-gauge clear span steel kit, $21,400. The skeleton that lets this house have 0 interior load-bearing walls and that dramatic rising ceiling. The steel carries the load, the panels carry the envelope. Neither one does the other's job, and that division matters more than it sounds like it should. In a normal stick-framed wall, every single stud is a highway for heat, a problem builders call thermal bridging. Roughly a 1/4 of a typical wall's surface area is solid wood, and wood conducts heat about 3 times faster than the insulation next to it, which means your R19 wall is never really performing at R19. Once you count every stud, plate, and header, it's closer to R13 in the real world. The Castillo's 6-inch wall panels test at an effective R24. Their roof panels test near R40. No studs means nothing to short-circuit the number on the label. But insulation value isn't even the main event. Air leakage is. A typical new American home leaks somewhere between 4 and 7 full air changes an hour, meaning the entire volume of air inside gets pulled out and replaced through gaps around outlets and sill plates, over and over, whether you wanted to or not. When this house was blower door tested, it came in at 0.7 air changes per hour, passive house territory, and simply what happens when a wall system has almost no seams in it. But a house that tight doesn't breathe on its own, and that's exactly why that ERV sitting in the mechanical closet isn't optional. Cooking moisture, shower steam, carbon dioxide from 4 people sleeping. In a leaky house, that stuff wanders out through the walls by accident. In a sealed one, it stays. And skip mechanical ventilation, and you're looking at mold within 2 years, guaranteed. Most of the horror stories about foam houses online are actually stories about someone skipping this exact piece of equipment, not a flaw in the panels themselves. So here's the full number. No rounding, nothing left out. Land, $38,000. Slab, $12,600. Steel frame, $21,400. SIP panels, $15,200. Metal roofing, $6,200. Windows and doors, $8,100. Electrical, $6,400. Plumbing, $4,800. Septic, $9,700. Well, $10,300. Heat pump, $4,500. Energy recovery ventilator, $2,700. Interior finishes, done almost entirely by the Castillos themselves over 13 months, $24,800. Permits and engineering, $3,600. Total, land included, $168,300, roughly 40% below the cheapest contractor quote they got. Their first full winter electric bill, during a week that hit the teens overnight, came in at $61. Their neighbor in a comparably sized stick-built home paid $340 that same month. None of this is a fantasy, and there's a real trade-off underneath it. No other SIP Barndominium existed in their county, so their appraisal was a guess based on stick-built comparables, and 2 insurance carriers turned them down outright before a third one finally wrote a policy. Building this way means a house that costs less to own every single month for the rest of your life in exchange for a market that hasn't fully figured out how to value it yet. Here's my question for you. Would you take that trade? A house that costs less every month for the next 30 years in exchange for a bank and an insurance company that don't quite know what to do with it yet? Tell me yes or no in the comments. And if you want to see exactly how that steel frame went up, panel by panel, day by day, that build is next on the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And I'll see you in the next one.